And welcome back to the Off the Clock Show. You're joined once again with your host, Shawn Gervais from OrbisX CRM, as well as Marshall, Mr. Marty Hill from Pints of Polishing Podcast and hyperClean Car Care Products, which, by the way, I have to plug in a little something there. I don't know if it's something where we live in particular, but there's two cities. We're right on the border of two provinces, which are like states. And we tried out your product to do something specific today. Which we tried the glass cleaner. We had a hell of a time with vaping. One side of the border, everybody vapes, like 6-year-old babies all the way to 90-year-old men. They all vape on that side. That's on the Quebec side. And they all come over to our side because we have the best service. So they come over to see us. And it's always been a hassle for my guys dealing with, the vape residue and stuff like that. And so we typically use this spray cleaner that we use it for all kinds of stuff, but it cleans glass really well. It's like a citrus based type thing, but it's an aerosol. Some of my guys hate it because it's an aerosol. Some of them love it because it's easier on their fingers, as they said. These poor delicate little babies. Anyways, so they use that, and we use it for other stuff too, like debadging, taking off decals, because something in the citrus just eats away at that stuff. Anyway, it's really good. We buy it from the company that provides our windshields. And so we have a new hire, William, and I was telling William, I was like, you know what? I have some of this at my house garage. Take some to the shop, and you've been complaining about the vape residue and stuff. This is going to do the trick. And I'm telling you, I don't know what you put in there, but it's like anti-vape. It just like eradicated that from the windshield, which was pretty awesome. So I do have to give you a shout out for the glass cleaner. That was amazing.
Well, thanks.
Yeah. Cheers. No, and thank you. You saved William from wanting to quit. So he's getting all the Quebec cars. So he was like, really? He's like, every car I get, it's just like layer on layer of vape juice. And so anyway, he's happy now, which is good. But and on that note, now that I brought up William, the sad part is so I brought William to our Christmas party prior to him being hired. And his family had just moved here from Montreal. They were staying with us for 2 months until they found an apartment. Boom, he's good. And then he started at our shop. And he was in there and he was talking with one of the guys, and one of the staff was like, yeah, so tell me about your family and stuff. Like, they like to get to know each other. He said, oh, he says, tells him about his mom. And he says, but my dad, he's kind of a jerk. He's kind of this and that and everything. And the guy turns to him and he says, Sean's an amazing guy. What are you talking about? He's like, wait, what are you talking about? He's like, why would you say that about Sean? He's a great dad. He's this, that, and everything. The guy thought I was William's dad. And I'm like, dude, do I look like William's got a kid? Do I look like a grandfather?
Apparently so.
Apparently so. Yeah.
It just takes one of those comments,
These grays here. So I was like, damn. But hey, kudos to my other staff having my back and knowing who I am. So thank you. Damn. But anyway, William corrected him after a while. So he kind of ran into it, and was like, or leaned into it. He's like, yeah, Sean's okay. Like, da da da. Well, what the fuck? Anyways, he tells me that. So apparently I'm a grandfather. So
we're all friends here, Sean. Tell us how it really made you feel.
Yeah. It made me feel terrible, actually. But I was like, if I'm a grandfather, I'm a zaddy or whatever they call them nowadays. Because I was like, I'm a pretty hot grandfather. I was like, that's pretty awesome. But yeah, so on his way to work today, I texted him. I was like, hey, Will, don't be late, son. so now I'm leaning into it. See, but yeah, anyway, so he was really happy to try out the glass cleaner. He said he loves it, which is awesome. And he's also obviously a big fan of Slick as well. Yeah, so that's 2 shout outs on those products. If you don't have those 2 products, I don't even know what you're doing in 2024. Okay, guys, like seriously, better reevaluate your life purpose. But yeah, so anyway, that's a quick little update over here from Grandpa's Corner. But yeah.
Daddy's Corner.
Daddy's Corner. Yeah, exactly. Jesus. How about you? How was your week? Anyone accuse you of being a grandfather?
They called me daddy this weekend. It was a shame. It was a shame.
You're lucky.
I should just go ahead and leave right now.
Yeah. Man, it's twice has happened to me. Some kids came knocking on the door asking for my daughter to come play, my 9-year-old, and we were new to the neighborhood. They came, knocked on the door, and I answered. I was like, yeah, hello, can I help you? And they said, yeah. And they kind of like looked around for a bit, and I said, do you have any grandchildren home? I was like, grandchildren? It's like, I have children, not grandchildren. They're like, oh, can they come and play? I was just like, man, come back when you have manners. I closed the door. I was so mad. My wife's like, did you just close the door on those kids?
Listen, dude, wait till,
Yep.
yes, and wait till like those kids for so we have friends in the neighborhood of the stepson, right?
Yeah.
When their teenagers come to pick them up, right? Because they just walk over, like grab the girl so she walks home with them, right? Makes sense. Safe,
Yeah.
right? It's good.
For sure.
Absolutely. The rudeness. One time, one kid just walks in the house, like I open the door,
Oh,
he walks in and then goes and sits on my couch.
oh my God. Just sits there.
Like,
And you're like, what the
I didn't know what to do. I didn't want to be an ass and be like, dude, get ass up. But I wanted to say, get up out of my chair. Like,
hell? Yeah.
who are you walking in my house? You could have stayed
Jesus.
right here in the entry where I'm at, bro. Come on,
Exactly.
you know.
Yeah. Like, what are you doing?
Just sat down and started watching what we were watching. It was like,
Man, that's crazy. Because me as a kid, I would never do that. You know what I mean? There's no fucking way.
And then some people listen to this and be like, you motherfucker, like, why y'all being holes? Like, no, I can't help it, you know?
Yeah, no, it's true though. Like our old neighborhood, my wife would be outside gardening, and for some reason, all the neighborhood kids, like we didn't even know them. They would just pass by, and they would either, like help out with some gardening, like random kids we don't even know. They'd be like, "Can I help plant something?" My wife, she's got such a good heart. She was just like, "Sure." So she's showing them how to garden. Next thing you know, I'm inside the house. And we leave the door unlocked because she's going back and forth with plants and stuff. I go in and there's just some kid in our fridge. I'm like, can I help you? I'm like, oh, sorry, I was just a little hungry. I was helping Miss Gervais. I'm like, I don't care what you were doing. What are you doing now? Like, what the hell? And I was like, did she tell you to come in and do this? She's like, no, but I was
But I
just
was
hungry.
hungry.
I'm like, what the fuck? Like, it's weird, man. Because me as a
You're
kid,
cruel. You're cruel.
yeah.
You don't feed kids.
Listen, this is one bad grandpa, okay? You get out of my house. Oh,
All right,
man.
so
Brutal.
I saw a message in one of your groups. Well, hold on. First off, what are you drinking? That looked interesting there. What is that?
So I don't even know what I would call it. It's a rum and coke mixed with a batanga, which is tequila and coke, right? And so, but
What?
so there's rum, tequila, and coke,
And Coke.
and then lime, but done in a very particular way. And so the reason it kind of, well, I don't know, it's kind of hard to see in the light, but it's got kind of a when it's
Thick.
in the light, it's got a different kind of color and stuff. And the part of the reason is, so the knife that I cook with, so I'll cut up some veggies, cut up some peppers, things like that. You don't wash it when you're done, and then you squirt some lime, and then you stir it with ice with the same knife. And so there's a restaurant where this drink started, minus the rum, but with the tequila in Mexico. And they basically all the drinks taste different, but the guy he makes whatever he's making, his tortillas or whatever he's doing. But whenever he's cooking, he uses the same knife and he stirs the drinks with it. And so tourists started flocking there because they were like, man, the drinks there are just amazing. And so anyway, that's where it started. But then I added the rum to it as well, and it just it makes for a nice off the clock show. So that's what I'm drinking, and then with my I got that same stuff, the gunpowder rum. It was so good, and they still have a couple bottles left, so I went and got them, and yeah.
All right, I'm Elijah Craig.
Ooh, all right, there we go.
Straight rye, Elijah Craig with.
What do we got?
This is for everybody that understands why.
All right.
With some Whataburger.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
Whataburger definitely always over that other guys, that people mention. We just don't even need to bring them up.
Yeah.
Whataburger. Always. Just remember. Whataburger.
Yeah.
Oh, man, that double with cheese, mayo, their veggies are so good. It's such a great burger. It's so good.
Oh man, what a burger! That's it. It's funny actually. I don't eat a lot of burgers, and I definitely, especially outside of the house. But the other day, I don't know why I was craving a burger, and my wife said, "Let me make it for you." So I was like, "All right, fine." So she went. She was making.
You didn't ground up a picanha? What's going on here? You hadn't gotten there yet.
Not as yet. Not as yet, but I do have it in now, but saving it for a very special occasion. Not sure what the occasion is going to be, but probably Valentine's when we get back from
When
next
your
week.
Airbnb's vacant?
Yeah, when my Airbnb exactly. Which I don't know when that's gonna be, so the picanha will probably be no good by then. I'm gonna have to eat that before that. Probably Valentine's Day, but we're gonna see. That's also my wife's birthday, so we'll do a nice little thing. But yeah, but man, she made me a burger the other day. Holy shit, amazing! It was absolutely amazing. And I usually don't eat leftovers. It's like a weird thing I have. I don't know why. I eat fresh every day, and my kids don't eat leftovers. My wife sometimes, but me, I just don't. I don't know why. I know it's wasteful. I don't care. When it comes to food, I like it a certain way. So I cook very proportioned for what I'm going to eat, and that's it. But burgers, I will have leftovers. And I'm telling you, it's like every day it was just better. So the first day she made it fresh, boom, amazing. The next day I had one, and then the next day I ate the rest of them. Holy man, I'm telling you, it was game changing. I don't even know what she did to it. I got to find out. Like, maybe I should check the freezer. Maybe the picanha is gone. Maybe that's what I was like. Man, that was the best burger ever. But yeah, it was so
Wait,
good. But
Tanya?
so it came in frozen. I had no choice. I had no choice in the matter. Yeah. Come on. Do you know how far we are from? Yeah, but no. I'm sure she didn't use that. There's no way. I did tell her it was for a special occasion. Yeah. So I feel like I need to check. I'll check out the episode. I'm nervous now. But yeah.
So I thought this message was pretty cool inside your group. It was, how do I stop the upsell message from going out with appointment reminders?
Mm.
I found that question to be wonderful. I did.
Why wonderful?
Because I think it says something to, and it's not about the guy, but what's wrong with taking a little bit more? I'm just going to ask a question is what's wrong with taking just a little bit more time? Because he says, I offer some, right, but not with every. What's wrong with changing up or figuring out how to, can't you inside of OrbisX, like have specifics that maybe it's just one little add-on if he doesn't want to
Yeah.
always do a big one, like I would imagine it. You should at least always have something, right?
Always something. 100,000%. And yeah, so and you're right. Within OrbisX, you can change. There's a lot of settings actually, so you can customize based on the services that they choose. But you can also do exclusions, which is important too, because let's say I'll use our shop as an example. We upsell like a sun strip. So if they want a tint, and that's great for us because usually there's waste whenever we're cutting a car. So we cut the whole car. There's going to be pieces of film that are left over that we can't do a whole window with, but we could do the strip at the front, for example, right? So if someone books a tint, we don't want to offer that in all scenarios because if they do a full tint and they've already purchased with their appointment the sun strip, we don't want to pitch them a sun strip. That's just pointless, right? So we can exclude if they have a sun strip added to their appointment, right? So that's really important. But the other side of it is it's not just an upsell for tinting appointments, it's also an upsell for detailing appointments. Someone comes in to get their car cleaned, we can still upsell them that strip. It's going to go in the garbage. So we might as well sell it $20, $40, whatever the case may be. So we add that in as an upsell for those ones as well. So there's always an upsell that goes out at our shop, always. But the system's smart enough to not upsell them 15 different things or 20 different things. So it'll limit how much it pitches to the customer and it prioritizes in different ways. But you can also
What does
limit.
Cody need to do for that to happen, right? Or somebody
So
that's like, that's why I was saying
yeah,
maybe he just needs to, or whoever's listening, just there's got to be just a little bit more time or something to invest a little bit
yeah,
more into it. So how do they get to
absolutely.
what you're saying and that they can make those changes?
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. And so when it comes to things in OrbisX, everything is compartmentalized. So you have, leads, clients, invoices, payments, all that kind of stuff. Anything that's going to be revenue modifying, usually in your favor, that's a plus. It's always under the marketing tab. So if it's something like, in this case, upsells, or it's the AI reaching out for, bookings on your behalf, things like that, that's all bringing in future revenue. So it's all in the marketing tab. So under the marketing tab, there's the upsell automation section. And within there, that's where you can specify all kinds of different rules and parameters that you could have an upsell that shows up on your booking form, or you could even make upsells that don't show up on the booking form. Those are really good too, because you can try and pitch them one price during booking. So that's probably the hottest time, right? If I'm making a booking, I'm probably ready to go. I'm in spending mode. I'm like, yeah, whatever, add this, add this, add this. Later, after I've already secured the appointment, I might be less likely to purchase. That's where you could have additional upsells go out during that period of time that are different from the ones shown on your booking form. So there's all kinds of settings you can tweak in there. Some of them are pretty clear and obvious, like, which services should I attach you to, so on and so forth. Other ones that may be, more obscure, there's always little help icon next to what that option is, and it'll tell you more information and how we use it at our shop. So yeah, simple adjustments. There's only, I think, 20 or 30 fields for each upsell that you can modify. So it may look like a big form at first, but it's not when you look at it, because it's, 5 of the fields are, where do you want this to show up? And it'll be, if someone books a detail, if someone books a paint correction, whatever the case may be. So you're choosing those kind of options. In this case, I would take a step back and I would look at your entire sales process. I would go to the reports tab, look at your insights and see what are people booking most often. And then I would compare that with your upsells and say, okay, well, people are booking, interior only, this last couple months or whatever it is, in winter, and I'm not selling XYZ. Well, I would say, okay, let me add XYZ now as my upsells and automate that. And I would focus on those and do them seasonally.
So in his, and I don't know if this is what he's thinking, but kind of, I guess, if I'm going to say in his defense, like,
Yeah.
there is sometimes I'm on people's websites and I'm checking out, or I'm about to, like,
And it's like too
the
much.
way it's presented. Okay, too much, or the way it's presented, right? Like,
Yeah.
I think that does play into effect. The wording that is used, what's said, how intrusive is it? Does it really make sense for, I'm buying this and that's why I should get
Yeah.
this sale? I
Yeah.
like the, most people who buy this also do this. I think that's
Yeah.
Amazon's upsell.
And
Most
that's what we do
people
as well.
pair it, and that's the way they'll
Exactly.
word it. And I can see that as more of a suggestion than the
Yeah.
derogatory that some people consider selling, and they call it upselling because they feel a little slimy maybe, or a little
Yeah.
silly, because I really am just trying to get them to add something on instead of a good, honest suggestion. And or, hey, here's what most people do.
Yeah, absolutely.
That
And that's
is a
why,
sale. That's an upsell, but it's used in such a, I don't want to say passive aggressive. It's used in just such a normal speaking, like,
yeah,
average Joe type of words that, hey, most people like to do this with this. Okay, great. Because you know what?
exactly. It's just a suggestion.
Most people like to follow most people.
Yep,
Most people like
100%.
to be a part of the crowd. So
If you don't believe that, just ask anyone with an iPhone. You get the exact same technology for less. Sorry, Marshall.
no, you don't.
Yeah,
No, you
sorry.
don't.
Android user here. Yeah.
I was an Android user, but the amount of things I had to pay for on all their apps versus the iPhone apps, I left. I was an Android user, and I loved Android, and especially I loved the little spinner ball and having the
Yeah,
keyboard.
yeah.
That was great.
Yeah.
I had some of the very early Google phones, right?
I never tried those,
Yeah, when
to be honest. Yeah.
the little journey I had was in South Carolina, starting some cell phone stores. So at one point we had 4 stores. So at that time we were a big T-Mobile subsidiary in a sense. So I had to go with Android until T-Mobile finally accepted Apple, and I went right back. To Apple. Like,
Oh man, you are missing out. I don't know.
well, I get it. And that's what I've kind of said with you. And I think OrbisX is a lot like a Google type of platform where it has so much that you can do. Whereas then, some other, and that's the side of Apple with some people love the plug and play where it's just done. And I don't care, it's just simple. There's
Yeah.
some people that love that.
So like, I just want something simple. It does it all for me because they don't want to make the extra investment in their business.
And I could see a guy like this just going, and he's going to miss out. He's going to miss out because he doesn't feel like he needs to. Listen, Cody, I'm not saying this is, but in a theory, it seems like he's a type of guy that feels like, I don't want to put in these little bit of extra effort. I would rather just cancel this upsell stuff out because
Instead of
it's
doing it the right
too
way.
many problems. Instead of, how do I spend 5 more hours, 15, 20 more hours really understanding so that I can put myself in the best position to grow?
Absolutely, yeah. Because the reason that feature was built was because our initial staff, they're good at our new staff, they're great at upselling. Our previous staff, they weren't doing it as often enough. And even that, we were finding that in the moment, the success rate was different than ahead of the appointment. And so we said, well, why don't we just do both? And then it was, okay, what about also at the time of booking? So there's different times, but we, instead of upsells, what you see on the back end, what the customer sees, it's referred to as enhancements. So we always say other customers have enhanced their appointment with the following, things like that, because we're not going to say like, hey, are you interested in these add-ons? That's the last word you want to mention.
Terrible.
Do
Yeah.
not mention add-ons at all. Even when we talk to a customer, it's never
Or
add-ons,
must-haves. Get these
upsells.
must-haves. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
did you miss these? No, I didn't miss them.
No, I didn't. It just exactly. And these are all these things that we try to avoid, right? And so through the sales process, and the best time that we found to hit them up was during the reminders, because the only information they're taking in at that time is existing information. So their brain's not processing anything new. It's just oh yeah, I have that appointment in 3 days, that kind of thing. So there wasn't too much brain power required. So that was a really good time to hit them with enhancements, because during the appointment, during the intake, your success rate is going to be lower unless you have a lot of time to spend with them, because their interest is, I'm going to drop off my car. We've already talked about everything, and I'm out of here, and I'll see you when it's done. Right? Their goal is to leave, and everything you say after that point is keeping them hostage. Right? So we found that the best time was when they were using the less brain power, and it was just a simple reminder. That's where we introduced the enhancements, as well as during the booking process, where typically people would have set aside some time. I have to make a booking, and they go through the form, and then they submit the booking. But definitely, my recommendation is never to turn off something automated in your business, because even if, sometimes you get people that say like, oh, I had a customer, say this, and so now I want to disable that feature. It's like, so just so I understand, you have 400 customers that the AI did this to perfectly, and then you had one customer that complained about it, and now you're like, ooh, you should turn it off because you don't want to hear the complaint. To me, that's the equivalent of, if your staff is complaining about, one thing that happened, but everything else they love about the company, it doesn't mean that you have to go and completely change their whole job description. You take a look at it, take it with a grain of salt, and say, okay, that one customer had an issue with whatever it was, but the benefits as a whole for all the other customers, if you remove that, your business is going to ultimately suffer, and so will your customer experience. Because at our shop, we're not upselling garbage, for example. So these enhancements, they're things that actually benefit our customer. That's why people buy them in the first place.
And you go back to something we've said before, like the big reason why people don't sell things is they don't believe in what they're selling.
Exactly. And if you don't believe in what you're selling, stop selling that thing.
Stop selling. Pick a different brand. Go with somebody that you can start to believe in so that you can grow. You don't want to turn off upsells. You want to sell more.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because if you think about it, everything is an upsell. The customer calls you and hasn't spent a dime. Anything that you sell them, even if it's the service they're inquiring about, is an upsell from zero. So all you're doing is just pushing the needle a little further and adding on a few more things that benefits your bottom line, but ultimately should be something that benefits the customer as well. I'm not suggesting you go and just upsell garbage, because it has to be something that benefits the customer. And then it becomes something that all the other customers are going to want, they're going to hear about, and so on and so forth. But yeah, you're right. It starts with believing in the product. And if you don't, like there's a lot of shops around here still sell Rain-X for windshields, which is fine. Do your thing. That's okay. We took a different approach. Okay, so we're much more expensive with our upsell in that regard because we're selling glass coatings. But the results are something that we can believe in a lot more in comparison to if we were just selling Rain-X, right? And so that's just for us. But the biggest thing is we're not having a discussion with the customer about price at that point. We're selling the value of it. We're selling what they're going to get as a result. And our goal is to sell a higher price point product anyways, because we're not competing on price. We're competing on the value that we're delivering for the customer and the solutions we're providing. I could care less. All the shops in the city keep selling Rain-X. I don't care. If it's a fraction of the cost of what we're doing, I don't care, because to me, it's two different solutions. We're not selling the same thing. And so that's where, but upsells, 100%, great question. But Cody, definitely turn them on, but use them in a different way. That's what I would suggest. Absolutely. And if you want, shoot me a message, shoot me a DM. I'll walk you through some suggestions of what you could do. And if anyone else is curious, when I post this video, just post some things that you are upselling now and things maybe you have available that you've been considering, whatever, and we can have a discussion about it for sure.
Oh, absolutely. So there's big announcement, huh? Is there a big announcement?
There was a big announcement. Absolutely. Yeah. Exciting stuff. Something been in the works for a while, which is good. And something very much needed, I feel, because so metrics for websites, tracking the performance in your business at all times is important. That's why half of OrbisX is just reports. There's a whole section on reports, and there's, I think, like 35 of them, something different ones. And then even within each of those tabs, there's sub reports, because stats are super important. If you don't know where you've been, you don't know where you're going, and vice versa, and so on and so forth. So you got to be able to assess your stats. Stats within your business through OrbisX are vital, but there's also stats outside of OrbisX that have been difficult for people to kind of bridge the gap. It's been difficult for them to assess things. We've all seen it. People have hired web designers or developers or marketers. Every week there's a new marketing agency that seems to pop up in this industry. Apparently there was a lot of gurus out there, apparently. And so anyway, with all these new gurus, it becomes more important than ever to be able to track the performance of things. And so I set out to solve a big part of that problem, where Google Analytics is great, but Google Analytics is very much developer focused. So Google Analytics is something I still feel you should have on your website. It does provide a lot of value. However, it does take a lot of time to, decipher all these results, to go through them. And quite often it'll need your web developer involved in some process, right? Versus simple stats and something visual, because a lot of us are visual people. That's why Netflix is killing the radio. Okay, like it's just the way the world is. And so I wanted to develop something. So we've recently launched our heat mapper, which is essentially something that records the screen on your website. So it's one line of code. It's free as well. And it's not just for OrbisX members. OrbisX members are going to get some additional perks in there, but it is open for anyone in the detailing industry. And essentially one line of code, you plunk it on your website, and our software will start recording user visits. So it'll record them while they're on your website, what they're clicking on, what they're doing, and it'll save those recordings for you to view later. So you can literally click on recordings and see what people are clicking on. You can put it on your booking form. You can put it on other parts of your website. So if you're concerned about, well, we just relaunched this new page and we just rebuilt, our packages or whatever the case may be, and you want to see how people are actually reacting to them, one way is to ask people, of course, but the best way would be through spying on them. And so we built some software where you can basically, you get screen recordings of what they're doing on your website that you can access. And you're also getting heat maps. That heat maps are basically a visual representation of the page, and it'll show where predominantly people had clicked. So if it's a blue area, they didn't click or scroll there very much. If it's a yellow area or orange, they clicked there a little bit more, or they viewed the page a little more in that section. And if it's red, that's a hot section. So if you, let's say you have 3 packages, you have your small, medium, large, for example, of the popcorn, and you see that, wow, everybody's navigating to the large, but all my clicks were actually on the medium. So you can start to use those stats to say, okay, so what was it about the large? They compared it, they never chose that one. So you can start to compare these different things, and you can make better design decisions for your website, but you can also now make better business decisions for where information is located. Maybe there's something on your website you keep referring to people. Ah, geez, everyone keeps asking about our warranty, and it's posted on our website. Then you go check the screen recordings and the heat map, and nobody's clicked on it. Maybe it's in a bad place. Maybe you need to move it, or maybe there's a new product you've launched, or so on and so forth. So anyway, pretty excited to launch this, and it's part of a series of tools that we're building right now that are to help the detailing industry as a whole, not just with the CRM side of things, because the big thing with OrbisX is we're not just a data collection and data entry software. There's so much more to this. We're a growth software. We're a growth business. We help customers grow. Our customers are detailers primarily, and we help with the entire growth process. And part of this involves your website. That's why we partner with certain people for websites. Part of it involves the chemicals you purchase. That's why we partner with people like Marshall. And the other part of it is, analyzing these statistics as well as automating your workflow and so on and so forth. So it's kind of an all-encompassing, and that's why the name OrbisX, Orbis from Latin meaning 360 and X for technology. It's 360 degrees of protection for your business to give you the tools that you need to succeed. That was probably the best elevator pitch I've ever had in my life. See?
Nicely done.
Tanga, baby. Let's go.
Nicely done.
But yeah, so I'm pretty excited for that, and it's free as well. You get 10 screen recordings per month free with your free plan. If you need more than that, and that's for you to try it out, take a look, and then if you want to upgrade after that, I think the starter plan right now is like $10 a month or something like that, and you get this workhorse basically just operating for you in the background, spying on users 24 hours a day. So for less than the price of a coffee a day, we go into if we go into that sales pitch. Oh geez, but yeah, and there will be some additions and improvements to this as well. New tools coming. So we've got 37 tools slated for 2024 that are going to be game changing because we're taking this far beyond.
We're going to learn
CRM.
38 new games.
So you don't have to learn them because the AI is going to do it for you. You just got to set it up. One line of code. That's
no, but it's changing the game each time.
Oh.
So that's a whole new game we got to learn. Like,
this is true. This is true. But as my dad used to always tell me as a kid, if you want to keep getting what you're getting, keep doing what you're doing. And so you always have to evolve and improve. And that's pretty much been a recurring theme for us on this podcast is evolution. You have to keep evolving and changing and everything like that, which, yeah. So some pretty exciting stuff in the works. Yeah. Well, I mean, just dropped, not just in the works. But yeah, so speaking of evolution, though, I'll dive into sort of a tip, I guess, I had for today. It's today I've got a
sort of a tip. Are you confused about your tip, or
once I pull it out, we'll know. So I've been watching some TV programs on YouTube recently that
I'm not sure we want to hear about those TV programs, Shawn.
Yes, there was a twerking challenge, and no. So no, I've been watching some stuff on YouTube and going through the regular stuff. Some usually I'll watch a podcast and then I'll check and see if they have some videos on YouTube, and I check some stuff that they put out, things like that. Anyway, some suggested videos showed up, and then I ended up talking with a buddy of mine. He's in Mexico, but he was telling me about his cousin, and his cousin's in Ecuador, and he was telling me what's going on there. So I looked up the news there. Don't worry, it all comes full circle. There's some crazy stuff happening there, which is not good, with the gangs and the cartels and stuff, which then somehow led me to National Geographic. And one of the suggested videos was one of those shows, I'm trying to remember the name exactly, To Catch a Smuggler. That's what it was called. I don't know if you've ever seen that show where they, To Catch a Smuggler, and it's basically, Homeland Security, and then they work with Border Patrol and all kinds of stuff. And they work on catching people that are bringing contraband into the country. Or the opposite, exporting it out of the country. They work on catching these smugglers. And so I got roped in. It was a very entertaining show. But the part that roped me in probably wasn't what ropes in most people when they watch it. For them, it's just the guns, gangs, drugs, it checks all the boxes for excitement, right? But for me, what wrote me in was the innovation that I saw from cartels. Like, it's amazing how over the years they just evolve and evolve and evolve. Like, I'm telling you, if they were able to apply that same, you know, strategy and tactic and motivation and everything to positive things in the world, we would probably have a brand new search engine that would dominate. We'd probably have, like, I don't know, a community on the moon. Like, who knows? Because they evolve quickly, and once they figure something out and then they go full force in that method. Like, you got to think the barriers for them, like, for them it's a business, right? May not be a business we all agree with, but it's a business for them. There's billions and trillions of dollars on the table here, and they constantly innovate and evolve at rates that most businesses should be envious of, because most businesses, things are going great, looking forward to another 2024, more of the same. And it's like, okay, 2024 might be a lot different than your 2023, definitely than your 2022, and so on and so forth. As we've spoken about before, a lot of people loved the gold rush that they had during the pandemic, but now they're realizing, holy shit, things are a lot more serious than I thought they were, and it's not all fairy tales and roses and unicorns and all that stuff. So I think if we were to take some of the innovation that I saw, like the one episode I saw, they had started smuggling things in car batteries. And what they did, you think, okay, so they bought some car batteries and whatever, modified them, whatever. No, they opened up a factory. All the factory does is make car batteries strictly to export drugs. They opened a factory, okay? They make their own car batteries, not for the general public, just for them to transport drugs. And they even put weights on the side so that it would feel heavy like a battery. And it was just a whole operation. You got to think how much time, energy, and money went into that process, right? And it's not something they were always doing. It's something they had to do in response to what? In response to their market changing. They had to make drastic and swift changes in order to keep the ball rolling, in order to keep making sales. Like I said, for moral reasons, we likely all disagree with what they're doing. I'm not promoting that. What I'm saying is we can look at things in life and we can gain some motivation and some inspiration onto how we should run a business. Because if you look at that, the way they're doing things, so the innovation side has been a huge focus for us at our company, both OrbisX and AutoWorld this year. And it's been the biggest part of our talks, which is how things like Heat Mapper came to be, where you can track your stats on your website. But innovation is definitely the word for us in 2024. And we're doing this in a few ways. And so we're looking at things because not everything has to be something super creative. You can recycle someone else's idea and old things. So I was thinking about this innovation, and I was taking a look at Uber, and I talked to some people that I know that drive for Uber, and I said, tell me about your experience. Tell me what it's like being an Uber driver. What motivates you to wake up? Because, like, that's something everybody hates. Everybody hates being in traffic, driving, unless you're doing like a fun road trip. Nobody wants to just drive around all day. So I was like, if that's got to be the worst possible thing, but you're enjoying it, tell me about the experience. What makes you want to do that all the time? Because I was looking for some innovation. And the feedback I got was pretty amazing, actually. And the key point I got and how we're going to implement this innovation in our business this year was random rewards. So there were areas that they wouldn't normally take deliveries in. It's too far for me. It's not a neighborhood I like to go to. Whatever the case was, Uber, with their AI, wanting more drivers in that area or at that time of night or whatever the case is, would offer random rewards. So they would either send you a quick message and say, if you go and pick up this order or you go to this neighborhood, we're going to pay you a little extra for this delivery. So that was an incentive, but it wouldn't show up consistently, so that you couldn't plan for it. It was just random. And so it was Uber looking at their business and saying, okay, we need more drivers this Saturday in this particular neighborhood. So they would just, boom, allot some rewards to these people. So how does that translate into an auto detailing shop? Well, it's something I gave significant thought to while I was watching some people get arrested and detained on TV. And I thought about it. I said, well, you can do random rewards with your customers as well. And so there's probably things that you're doing right now where you go above and beyond, and maybe you don't even mention it to the customer. You just consider it as part of your entire process. But small little innovations, like letting your customer know by way of taking a picture in OrbisX and adding it to the job photos, which can then be sent to your customer. You can say, hey, by the way, notice this little thing in the back, this stain or whatever. You might not have seen it because you're in the front seat all day, but I took care of it for you. I know you've got 2 kids. I wanted to make sure I spent the extra 15 minutes on that for you, whatever the case may be. These little random rewards. The other idea, of course, would be just strictly a random reward where you say, hey, by the way, you're the 40th customer this week. Could be a complete bullshit lie. Doesn't matter. Just announce something to them. Be like, so we've decided to put this on your windshield for free. Or we decided to do this for free. Just a random act. If you try and do one of those every week to some customer, the experience you're going to create, they'll never see it coming because it wasn't something promised to them. It just happened. But creating those kind of experiences can bring you and yield you more fruits in the future. So that's one innovation we're going to do. The second one is gamification. That was the other thing they had mentioned to me, is that a lot of people enjoy it because it's kind of like a game. You get to accept the, this order, and if you don't do it in a certain amount of time, then poof, it goes to the other person. So they're kind of just sitting there waiting for it to happen, right? Gamification has always been in the forefront of my mind. And it's been something that I've thought about because casinos make a shit ton of money, even though most people know, what's that saying? The house always, we all know it, right? The house always wins. And so even though we know that, Vegas is still a hot destination. So are roadside, slot machines and everything. Like people,
like if they can entertain you while they take you.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, just take my money, right?
Mm-hmm.
So something that's being built and developed right now into OrbisX is a form of a lottery of sorts where you'll have the option to sell upsells or enhancements. You'll be able to sell, pay $20 and get $50 worth of some enhancement, but they don't know what it's going to be yet. And they will spin a little thing and it's going to be exciting. And then it'll say like, you won this, and it'll be something that you can add on to your thing, and you'll be able to choose how many winners you want. You'll be able to choose what products you want, so on and so forth. So something like that is in the works right now. We're still working out some of the logistics, but it's pretty exciting to introduce new innovative things, not just for the detailing industry, but also within our own business. And so how we're doing this right now is we're just randomly choosing someone that, hey, let's give them that and throw that in. And we message the customer, hey, by the way, we're going to throw this in for you for free. But what that does for us, yeah, we're giving away something right now, but makes a better customer experience. They're already paying a lot more. We're making our margins elsewhere, and their future visit, if you do this right, you give away something that is something they're going to need again. So what we're not going to give away is like, oh, we're going to tint your vehicle. They're not coming back for another tint. We did it. It's a one-off. You know what I mean? But if we give away other things that are a recurring product, i.e. ceramic coatings that have a shelf life, i.e. window coatings, i.e. an exterior wash if they only got an interior, different things. If you give away certain things that do have that recurring and repeating cycle, then you're going to find that these kind of, gamifications and innovations are really going to affect your bottom line. Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah.
Man, so that's what I learned from contraband and Uber drive. It was a pretty interesting weekend.
I like it. So I'm going to talk about what I talked about yesterday. Seems strange, but it was such a good discussion that we had yesterday. I wanted to bring it up today. I want to make sure everybody understands why we want to talk about it. So I was shown something this weekend, and it was very interesting. It was a quote. It's a quote from, you see them all the time, whether it's business-esque type people or it's, get to the next level type people. These guys that want to shout from the rooftops and really emphasize and throw out generic terms that, they're not wrong.
Yeah.
They're just so generic that they're.
My favorite one is 10x your ROI. It's like
bingo, right? Perfect.
Oh, shit, is that
like It's not wrong, but
Yeah.
is it?
It's like, okay. Yeah.
So the one I got shown was you can charge people more when you bring them more value.
Mm,
We had to start thinking, what's value?
mm,
And so I challenged people yesterday, and I'll challenge people here to run a little test. It's something we just sort of organically started doing by mistake,
mm.
trying to get good fruit. We love fruit, and there's a battle that always happens. How many grapes are actually good when you get a bag of grapes? What's the risk that this entire bag is not good at all?
Yeah.
How many are good? If I got 3 cantaloupe, do I know all 3 are good? I don't know. You right? Like you
True.
always are having a guessing game.
Yeah.
Always. Except there's one time you never doubt. And that's when you're at some party or you're out at some function and there's a tray of fruit.
Mm.
The old fruit tray is always good,
Yeah.
right?
That's true.
Always. Has to be.
Yeah.
So one day she bought a fruit tray just because she was just going through Sam's and she's like, I just had to grab, I didn't want to do it. It was unbelievable, right? Like every fruit tray normally is.
Yeah.
Now,
Hmm.
we tried to go away and think about, well, maybe we try some stuff fruit from different places. Like, well, we've gone back and now we keep going back. And I want people to run that test. And there's a lot of people that will argue and they'll go, I am not going to spend the money on a fruit tray. The price of each of those little bites compared to me going and buying the fruit and
Then cutting it up and yeah.
it up. Okay. Well, what's value?
Mm. The fact that it's ready to go and it's just done for me, that's a huge plus for me.
Right. But a lot of people, and I would say, which we talked about a second ago, most people would sway the other way.
Mm.
And they would say, the value is in the expense. It's what I paid. I'm going to get more fruit for the same amount of money. Okay. Not arguing with you there. You did math really good. What great job. You definitely
Yeah.
got more fruit when you buy it and cut it or you buy in bulk. You hear this with people. That's why I need 5 gallons. I want to buy in bulk.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
Okay.
perfect.
Okay.
Yeah.
You can. The
Option.
the thing that we introduced and we really chopped up yesterday is maybe for those really, that understand and want to grow, understand and want to understand and want to accelerate, understand and want to always think of future.
Hmm.
Maybe there's a word that we shouldn't use, and that's value. Maybe we shouldn't really think of giving value to people.
Hmm.
The greatest value, and this was the illustration yesterday, the greatest value that you can get at the grocery store actually is a name brand. Great value.
Mm.
You don't have those up there, Shawn. This
Oh,
the
we have.
cheap. Oh, you do?
Yeah, we
Okay.
do.
Yeah. So the
But it's pretty simple.
absolutely best value is the cheapest thing there.
Mm.
And quality ain't there. You
Yeah.
got a ton of stems. You got flavors that aren't right. You probably got a lot of, and you can go into all the people that talk about pesticides, or you can go into all different ways that somebody is going to skate a corner so that they can provide the best value.
Yeah.
So should we really be trying to provide people value? Or maybe there's something else that we should provide. And maybe that is quality.
Mm. Yeah.
Providing the best quality of service, using quality products, speaking quality, being around quality. You just start just the more you say the word, the more you think about it, you go, yeah, I would much rather have quality than cheap. I don't want to provide value to cheap people. I would much rather provide a great service to quality people.
Yeah. And people do, especially when it comes to their car, like quality. It's a huge factor, I
A
would
lot
say.
of people love cheap.
A lot of people love cheap
A
too.
lot of people love cheap.
But that's where
They do.
I think there's a segment for everybody. Like I saw a post recently, someone said that people that race to the bottom, you hear that a lot with pricing.
Mm-hmm.
When they try and go cheaper and cheaper and cheaper, that they're destroying the industry, which I think is kind of hilarious in a sense because like has Walmart destroyed the industry for a lot of other business? There's a lot of businesses that still sell similar products for more money than Walmart charges, and they're still in business and they still make sales. Are they doing the same kind of volume as Walmart? Probably not, in some aspects with some products. But at the same time, there's markets for everybody. And anyway, I have my own opinions on this race to the bottom theory because I don't think that anybody lowering their prices is going to affect my business at all. Like I just don't, because I'm not selling price. But at the same time, I do take a quality approach when we sell value. So we're still selling value, but we're doing it in the right way. So that's where I think you're right. I think rephrasing, like you're still selling value, but it's a different type of value, and that's where it is a difference. Quality is something different than just value. Value to me signifies usually value for money. I'm getting the best I can with the amount that I'm spending.
You don't think of valuable, you think of cheap.
Just value, yeah. Just like
Yeah.
because value is just literally the absolute number, right? It's still you're still just selling price. But that's if you go to YouTube, guaranteed if you typed in like this advice or marketing advice, guaranteed at least 8 out of the 10 videos are going to mention, stop selling time, sell value, stop focusing on price, sell value.
Be the most
valuable.
valuable. I think I've said it.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a thing. It was like, and it was, but the more you chew on it, the more you think about it, the more like you just go,
Yeah,
don't.
that's true. Yeah, speaking of the value side, I have a quick question, sub question here. I see this a lot where there's even shops here. We're not the fastest shop, but we're one of the more efficient and faster shops in the city. And we would be the fastest, but there's another guy, he just cuts a lot of corners. That's what, but anyway, that being said, there's other shops I've seen that pride themselves on, well, no car leaves my shop unless it's been here for, 4 days or something. And they associate the length of time as if they're improving the quality and the value that's being provided for the customer. I'm sure you've seen that as well, big time. But at our shop, we take a different, like whether it takes 20 minutes or 3 days, it's the end result that's, the quality isn't necessarily dictated by how long it took. Because more often than not, if something takes days, it's usually because you didn't manage your schedule well. You got too many cars for you to handle, and that's why you're, going solo, doing everything you can to get them out. But our shop, we turn around most jobs, 99% of them, same day. Doesn't matter what it is, because we have adequate staff. We usually are overstaffed on purpose to be able to bang things out quickly, but still high quality. Do you find that people, in the same way as value, people feel that they're giving more value if it takes longer? Like kind of how a Rolex takes a year to make one or some shit like that because they're handmade. They get their value because it's handmade, not necessarily because it takes a year. Does that make sense?
Sort of. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So I guess what I'm asking is like with the same way that values become, it was a thing, but then it's become more associated, even without people realizing it, more associated with just low cost,
Mm-hmm.
and, cheapest option. Do you think similarly when someone attaches value to, well, I spent longer on this, so like longer used to equate to better quality. whereas now it's more just less efficient process.
Yeah, they're probably just confused, right?
Mm,
They're
yeah,
trying to take a name, trying to take a theory and
apply it to.
apply it that doesn't match. Yeah, I
Because
mean,
for me, it's the opposite. I feel part of our quality and our value is that customers want their vehicle back sooner.
bingo. That's exactly where I was.
You know,
I almost wanted to cut you off, but you went
yeah,
ahead and said it. Like that's exactly what I was going to say. I think there's much more value in today's economy, and the car's in and out, and I've got it back in my care. I think the only way you're keeping cars a day or 2 days in today's economy is if you have something for them to drive, and
yeah.
don't dare think that it's going to be a 10-year-old vehicle with
No,
150,000 miles on it. Like
thanks
you
for the
need to
Range Rover.
have
Now
a
take this Prius, this loaner. Yeah, it's
yeah,
not gonna,
you need to have a nice loaner vehicle if you're going to expect people to spend
yeah,
money and you're going to keep their car for 2 days. Like I and if you're still keeping people's car for 2 days, you're using the wrong stuff, my friend. You're
yeah,
you're now costing your business.
absolutely.
I love there's a guy that started working with us recently, and he made some posts in our group throwing stuff away, his old products, just throwing them in the trash because he was like, I'm not using this anymore. It's just
Yeah,
costing me too much, like costing
yeah.
him too much time. He talked about how you get 52 days extra minimum already. He's been able to pick up 52 working days out of 2024 just by switching over to our
My God.
coatings, just as a minimum, because
That's
he was able to cut out all this wasted time that the vehicle had to stay there. Then they had to do this and they had to like one layer in and out. And he knew off the bat already 52 days that he was going to save. So if people are keeping cars long,
that's
you're,
wild.
you're in
Just
the
think of how much
you're
money.
working with the wrong people.
Absolutely, yeah. That,
Like,
and then
uh,
you look at like CRM, like OrbisX, the time it'll save you. So factor that plus the chemicals. Like, holy shit, you've almost accumulated 6 months worth of time that you can just now go back out,
absolutely.
provide that real quality, right? And it's
Hmm.
our longest process is probably with the customer, our sales process. It's lengthier than it should be compared to other shops, but on purpose. It's by design. We try and kind of drag it out a bit because we find that we can get right down to the nitty gritty of what the customer is really looking for. So it's our process is still quick, but part of our like the quality we deliver is figuring out in the beginning, spending the extra time with the customer to find out exactly like a little bit more about their lifestyle so that we know specifically like, oh, they need this, they need this, they need this, and that those become the focus things we sell them. And then the actual work side is really efficient, really quick. We've found almost every efficiency we can in terms of like products, process, staff, everything, CRM, you name it. Just that side is pretty dialed in. It's the other side that we've made intentionally long, but that some people look at that and say, well, geez, that's not a quality experience. The customer wants to just talk to you for 2 minutes. And so, no, you'd be surprised, man. They actually don't mind talking to us longer. It's just the information you're giving them is probably shit. The information we're giving them is good information, and it's focused on them. It's a customized plan for them. Like you look at it like life insurance. They'll spend a long time figuring out who you are and talking to you about it and stuff like that. And then the actual like time from okay, from that point to paper signed and you're on your way, that part's quick, but it's the intake part that takes some time. But that's where for us to provide the quality, we need to know specifically what are their expectations, what are they looking for. And I tell you, not one time in the entire time I've had my shop has someone said, "Can you hang on to my car for an extra day or two?" Not once, and it's actually rare that people talk to us about pricing issues. That's not something that I will say on the windshield side, it happens more than, but the detailing side, tinting side, usually price isn't something that's discussed. It's more the quality result, especially like tinting, for example, or ceramic coating. They're very concerned about the end result. What's this going to look like? What's the end result going to be? What are my expectations when it's done? So on and so forth. That side of things. And so we have all the answers and responses ready for them of what they can expect, and based on their situation, what to do or what not to do, so on and so forth. But the pricing side, really, it's only the windshield, because the windshield is it's more, oh well, this other place, they could give me that windshield, my insurance will cover it or something like that, and it's like, well, fortunately, with us you got to pay. But stuff like that. But pricing, that's where I don't think, like, we sell value in the sense that I'm thinking about it, because coming from the marketing background, but it really is just the quality side of things. Like, even with OrbisX, like, everything that I launch, I want it to be quality. It's not like I don't want to be the cheapest in town. I could match the prices of the other CRMs that are out there, but I'm not matching the product. Our quality is different. So I'm not going to match. Like, it's not going to happen, because I'm not concerned about the price. If someone tells me, like, oh, it's too expensive, I'm like, actually, I think it's too cheap. I'm like, you're getting a fucking deal of a lifetime, because I know what it's doing for your business. And how expensive is an employee, Marty, compared to $100 a month? Would you say that more or less equal, or would you say it's not even this big ballpark? You know what I mean?
I don't know an employee that could work as hard as OrbisX.
No, me
Ain't
neither.
happening. Ain't happening.
Especially for that little amount of money and not taking lunch breaks. OrbisX hasn't called in sick once. Now,
Did
William,
catch a virus one time.
yeah, this is true. Yeah. It was just a minor cough. But compared to my new son William, that I found out about recently, who takes days off, but just kidding, William, in case he watches later. But yeah, so no, I think that's a good way to look at things, though. So that's so my word of the year is going to be innovation. Innovate, continue to evolve, and look for new ways to do things. And you can find this. You don't have to be creative. You can look at companies that are out there and see things that they're doing. Like, for example, Amazon, huge success, right? Why is Amazon successful? They sell, or in the beginning especially, they sold the same products you can get elsewhere. But what did they do? They made the process easier, and they made it faster. So keeping a car in your shop for 3 days isn't a step in the right direction that the consumers are looking for, right? So innovate, find ways to change that. They also made it fun. It's almost fun to buy stuff on Amazon, when you think about it, right? Like, it's kind of a fun process. Add to cart, buy now. It's the gamification. So innovate, get ready to do that, and definitely take Marty's advice and reframe that antiquated question we've seen 1,000 times from marketers out there. 10x your ROI, and sell value, not price, and this and that. Just throw all those strategies away and start thinking about the quality you're delivering. And probably time for you to take a tune-up of your business and ask yourself, like, what is the quality we're delivering? What does quality mean to our organization? What does it mean to our customers? And that starts, I think, with talking to your customers. Listen, we want to deliver quality. So what does quality mean to you? Start asking them what it is. I bet you it'll vary slightly region to region, but you're going to see a lot of commonalities for sure of what customers are expecting for quality. Yeah. Oh, that's solid, man. Absolutely. And just remember, OrbisX is quality over anything. So sign up for Heat Mapper. You'll find it at heatmaps.orbisx.com. Be sure to check that out. It's free. You can start tracking stuff on your website, because with OrbisX, you get more. The X is for extra. Sorry, just came up with that now. Anyways, appreciate you as always, Marty. Good stuff. I'll see you next week as well before my staff retreat there. And then we'll do our holiday episode with our Valentine's tips. We're going to take our Valentine's tips out, ladies. Anyways, oh boy. All right, man. I'll see you next week. Cheers as always. All right, guys. Stay tuned.